Magnuson here. By now, you must have found my old hideaway. Tell me, what do you think of the gun you found? The Steno?
It's definitely impressive.
Ha! An eye for quality, I see. I must say, I'm pleased you decided to follow my advice. Make sure you keep hold of that rifle. You'll need it.
Why don't you tell me about it?
The Steno was my answer to the electromagnetic arms race. Whilst others attempted to prioritize energy efficiency or construction cost, I instead focused on raw, stopping power. The result, a handheld weapon that can punch through a warship's hull. Provided you give it enough charge, of course.
I've seen enough to know that weapons are the key to winning wars.
Ha! Very true. And under the right circumstances, the Steno could very well be such a weapon. But in this particular scenario, a single rifle won't be enough to win you a war. No, the Steno is but the first stepping stone. To deal with your gunner problem, we're going to require something with a bit more firepower.
You've got my attention.
Tell me, have you ever looked up at the night sky and pondered, what's up there? It's more than just stars, you know. Hundreds, possibly thousands of man-made satellites still orbit this once beautiful globe. And some of those satellites were once part of the United States Atomic Rain Program.
I think I saw a bit about it on the news, back before the war.
That's rather likely. I do recall the politicians wanting to make a big fuss out of it. After all, with the right propaganda, you can reassure the citizenry and scare your enemy's witness, all at the same time.
Tell me more.
Operated out of Adams Air Force Base, Atomic Rain was a complex network of orbiting weapon platforms, each armed with tactical nuclear missiles. Now, after being unattended for so long, most of these satellites would have likely malfunctioned or be damaged. But a handful should still be serviceable, patiently sitting idle, awaiting their next command. A command that we shall send them.
What happened at Adams Air Force Base?
As far as the public knew, and most of the serving officers for that matter, Adams was just a typical Air Force base. Hangars filled with jet fighters, cadets being drilled in the training yards, and so on and so forth. However, located just a few clicks beneath the surface was ECAM, the East Coast Aerospace Management System, Control Center for Atomic Rain. And a few other things too. Officially, ECAM was established to defend our soil against enemy incursion. Unofficially, it was to monitor and react in event of any native resistance that may have occurred due to the ever-escalating civil unrest.
Are you sure that 200 years didn't rust something important up there?
No. Oxidation, or rusting, requires oxygen. And whilst it's possible a satellite in very low Earth orbit could suffer mild corrosion, it's still unlikely. It's far more probable that some of the satellites have sustained damage from space debris than from any amount of rusting. Still, even taking into account 200 years of neglect of environmental deterioration, enough of the Atomic Rain satellite network should still remain for our purposes.
I can see where this is going.
Precisely. By gaining control of the Atomic Rain satellites, we can commandeer their nuclear arsenal and use it to wipe the gunners off the face of the Earth. In one fell swoop, we can destroy your enemy and put a definitive end to this war. Considering they tried to nuke you, seems a rather poetic response, don't you think?
That seems a little out there.
Oh, please. You and I both know how wars are ended. And whilst I can perhaps understand some of the reservations you may hold, temperance is a luxury of the ignorant and the shielded. If you want to be the victor in this war, your enemy must be destroyed.
So, how are you gonna do that?
Not me. You. Whilst I can guide you, in the end it will be your hand pushing the button. Now, you've already acquired the Steno. The next step to gaining control of Atomic Rain requires you to obtain something from a certain location. But there is a complication. I can't quite remember where.
What do you mean? Why not?
My memory isn't what it once was. There are gaps in my knowledge. Certain things elude me. Faces, names, dates, locations. There are even times that I lose. But never mind all that. Suffice it to say, I'm going to need some assistance.
Don't worry, I can help.
Thank you. I appreciate the support. Whilst my memory is fuzzy, I do recollect something. Saint James. Perhaps some kind of church? No. That doesn't seem right.
Tell me what you need, Doc.
Yes, that is the question, isn't it? I must admit, I'm unaccustomed to not having all the answers. I would say, start with St. James, but I have no idea where that is. I do seem to associate that name with a few other places, though. Places like the Old Warren Theater, the Prost Bar, and the Boylston Club. Perhaps if you were to visit some of these old haunts of mine, you could uncover some information on St. James. And then, once we know more about it, chances are likely I'll know where to send you next. Well then, you have your next task. Off you go. I'll radio later to check up on you. Best of luck out there.
Going up. Second floor.
Ah, Madison. Looking as lovely as always. Care for a Nuka Dark?
Good evening, Magnuson.
I assume this impromptu meeting means a decision has been reached?
Yes and no. Given our current partnership with Robco, and your less than amicable parting, there's been discussion regarding the ethics of recruiting your services.
Ethics? Not a word I'd expect to hear from Vault-Tec. Let's cut the crap, Maddie. You wouldn't have come all the way here if it was just to say, no deal.
Your higher-ups simply think they can get more out of me. And they're not wrong. I know how this game is played. Fine. On top of guiding your attempts to replicate ASAM technology, I'll also see about getting 111's cryotech up to speed, but that is all.
And if my superiors ask what, precisely, you're wanting in return?
Then you make up some plausible-sounding lie. After all, that was part of our deal, Madison. No records, no oversight, complete autonomy. Vault-Tec keeps their nose out, and I do the same in return. No reason for either party to pry too deeply into the other's affairs. Or secrets.
You really do know how this game is played.
Well, when you've been around as many politicians as I have, you learn a few things.
You have yourself a deal, Dr. Magnuson. Excuse me, do you have a telephone I can use? I have an important call to make.
Of course. This way, Miss St. James.
Going down. Ground floor.
Disappearing! I'm the...
Going down. Ground floor. Ground floor. Going down. Fourth floor.
Reporting status. All functions normal.
Going down. Ground floor.
Well, did you find anything?
I came across a holotape.
Excuse me, do you have a telephone I can use? I have an important call to make.
Of course. This way, Miss St. James.
Well, I'll be a Chinaman's uncle. St. James isn't a place. It's a person. A very specific person. Madison. Yes. Yes, I remember now. Madison St. James, Chief Procurement Officer for Vault-Tec. She was the one who recruited me after Robco gave me the boot. She helped salvage my project.
What's this project?
By now, it's possible you've already uncovered some smattering of information. I suppose there's no harm in sharing a little more. You see, before the bombs were finally dropped, a lot of us knew the day was coming. The end of the world, or at least the world that was. Individuals, corporations, governments, they all prepared for the worst. Ways to survive a nuclear apocalypse. For example, Vault-Tec had their vaults, Pulowski with their preservation shelters. I, however, had a better idea. As grand as it was attainable, all I lacked was the means. That's why I approached Robco with my idea, and later why I agreed to work with Vault-Tec. But things didn't transpire quite as I anticipated. For now, that's all I care to share.
Do you remember it now?
Yes, yes I do. I remember where I hid what you'll need to hijack Atomic Rain. Obviously, Miss St. James was not the location, but she was the one who granted me access to it. The technology you need is hidden in Vault 111. That's where you need to go.
Good work, Doc. I know the way.
Of course you do. And if I might add, I'm quite impressed by your attitude. There's not many who possess your composure and drive. I shall make contact with your partner. You'll be requiring his assistance. I'll have him meet you by the vault's entrance. And about returning to 111. I understand this may bring up some complicated emotions for you, but I assure you that this is necessary.
It's okay. I can do this.
Your professionalism serves you well. You have your assignment. I suggest you make haste. Oh, and don't forget to bring the Steno.